See about here carbohydrate metabolism. Usually, the carbohydrate metabolism consists of several pathways. Some of them are catabolic, few are anabolic, and one is amphibolic pathway. For the most of them, before class, we see about the metabolism types, anabolic, catabolic, and amphibolic pathways. Catabolic means uh, the breakdown of big molecule into simple molecule. Anabolic means the big molecule produced from the simple molecule. Amphibolic means one side the synthesis occur, next side the breakdown occur. Next, for the most metabolic pathways of carbohydrate metabolism either start with glucose or end with glucose. Hence, the carbohydrate metabolism means it is the metabolism of glucose. The major monosaccharide of our body is glucose. So, all the metabolic pathways run under the metabolism of glucose. Medical and biological importance. Glucose is the major fuel for all types of cell in the body. Its oxidation produces energy. And finally, the glucose degraded and give energy for us. For this way, so the glucose is must degraded. Glucose consumption per day varies from one organ to another. Some organ like a brain prefer glucose as fuel than fat and protein. Brain consume about 100 gram of glucose per day. So we must provide the carbohydrate glucose for the brain. The rate of glucose oxidation is more in cancer cell. So glucose is used for the formation of glycogen, pentoses, lactose, and the mucopolysaccharide. So glucose is the precursor for for the production of these components. Then the brain is totally dependent on glucose. But energy needs glucose is synthesized from glycogen or other non-carbohydrates during starvation or when food is in short supply by the process gluconeogenesis. Next, the deficiency or absence of enzyme of glycogen metabolism causes glycogen storage diseases. In erythrocytes, 2,3-BPG, bisphosphoglycerate, is formed from glucose, and the 2,3-bisphosphoglycerate facilitates the release of oxygen from the oxyhemoglobin. Dietary galactose and fructose are converted to glucose. And another function, the deficiency of enzyme of galactose and fructose metabolism causes galactosemia, fructosemia, and lactose intolerance also. The most common metabolic disease, diabetes mellitus, we familiar disease, is due to defective glucose metabolism. The diabetes mellitus in turn causes secondary diseases like hypertension, kidney diseases, and blindness. And we see about the major pathways of carbohydrate metabolism. First, we see the glycolysis. Is shortly defined as the oxidation of glucose to pyruvate and lactate with a series of reaction. First, we see about the glycolysis. The oxidation of glucose to pyruvate and lactate, which means the glucose degraded into give final product is pyruvate and in aerobic condition and lactate in anaerobic condition. Then next pathway is citric acid cycle or Krebs cycle or tricarboxylic acid cycle. In this cycle, the oxidation of acetyl CoA converted into CO2. Then it is the common oxidative pathway for carbohydrates, fat, amino acids. Next is gluconeogenesis. The synthesis of glucose from non-carbohydrate precursor, that means the amino acid in starvation or fasting time, amino acid, glycerol, and other fat lipid components are can converted into glucose by the process of gluconeogenesis. So these occur in this. Then glycogenesis, the formation of glycogen from glucose. The excess glucose we intake that is stored as glycogen. So this process is known as glycogenesis. Next, glycogenolysis. Here the stored glycogen is broken and give again glucose. Next, hexosmonospores. phosphate shunt, also known as HMP shunt. This is the alternative pathway of glycolysis and a TCA cycle for the oxidation of glucose. It gives pentose, NADPH, and so more products. They are very, very useful products. Then uronic acid pathway. The glucose is converted to glucuronic acid, pentosis, and in some animals the ascorbic acid. This pathway is also known as alternative oxidative pathway for glucose. Next, galactose metabolism, the pathway concerned with the conversion of galactose to glucose. So the glucose is the main ingredient of our blood. So the galactose also can convert into glucose and the synthesis of lactose. And fructose metabolism, the oxidation of fructose to pyruvate and the relation between fructose and glucose metabolism. The next, amino sugar and mucopolysaccharide metabolism, the synthesis of amino sugars and other sugars for the formation of mucopolysaccharides and glycoproteins. For these pathways, first we see about the entry of glucose into cells. The glucose concentration is very low in the cell compared to plasma. However, glucose does not enter the cell by simple diffusion. So active transport system is needed and a two transporting system specifically present for us. First one is insulin independent transport system. It's not a needed insulin. So this is a carrier mediated uptake of glucose. It is not dependent on hormone insulin. This is operative in hepatocytes, erythrocytes and the brain. Next, insulin dependent transport system. This occur in muscle and adipose tissue. So this need insulin for transportation. Then glucose transporters, and there are six glucose transporters identified nowadays. First, glucose 1, glucose glut 1, glut 5, glut 7.